Hi, Lori. How you doing? This is really just a pleasure because right before you, Melissa posted, and then to have your post right after, because both you and Melissa, Lori, both you and Melissa are really getting this stuff, and this is just fabulous, and I can really see why you've been working so hard, and it's working for you. I mean, it really is. It's working very, very well for you, and I think that this presentation is fantastic. Um, One thing I would recommend is that that's weird. Watch that jump. Watch the word show jump. Want to definitely check that out. Anyways, the one thing I would recommend from moving forward from here in your presentations is to give an introductory page. Okay, so the assumption being that as a graphic designer, you should always assume that your presentations that the person that's looking at them is looking at it for the first time, therefore should be self-explanatory. And I think this somewhat is, but not all the way. So just keep that in mind. Keep that comment in mind for moving forward towards your final presentation. Maybe an introductory page is in order. Think about it. If you have any other, reasonable alternatives as well. I mean, even just a couple of paragraphs in this page or something, whatever. Just, I think that the assumption being that when somebody opens this for the first time, they will be introduced and will be apprised to the whole concept and what you're doing and what the whole cause behind it is. So basically give your backstory. All right, so I think this is much better. I think, we had all those booths here before, and that was the part of the reuse, recycle, and reduce. So we decided to reduce, and this is just a great idea right here, going from 6 booths down, and then you still utilizing the space, but using it to present information. Very good idea there. And these information panels, I think, are really strong because as you walk by, you can see the video. So you're actually interacting. You have an active relationship with the whole structure, and that is critical. That's good thinking. Good thinking. I think that the presentations here looks like I think there should be some sort of a common denominator in the presentations themselves, and it would be typography. But I would also recommend that all of these images be presented the same size. See how this was really wide. This one's really wide over here. So that there's some consistency to the viewer as they walk through. Now we're getting the perspective of the wall. As we get deeper into composition, the wall gets smaller because it's further away from the focal point. We get that, right? The separations in your booths, this one looks like it's starting to get a little bit off perspective, and this one definitely, and then this one's just completely out of perspective. So think about how that would work. Okay. Presentation wise, the floor's not working because it's not following the perspective of this actual piece. If we were to take perspective lines, you would see that the floor would not be that kind of looking almost down on it. So it would be more at an angle. Don't know what angle, that's for you to figure out, but definitely try to make that floor work. I love this right here. I love this transition right here where you just go, okay, that's interesting. Then boom, all of a sudden here it is dissected and everything's described. I think that's very, very smart, and it's good presentation, and it's interesting, and it's fun to look at. So it's a win-win. Now, as far as this goes right here, you say information booth, and that's great, but how do we know that's an information booth when we walk up? Shouldn't there be information right here? I would think that it's obvious, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, utilize the space you have. So could we use this area in front of the information booth to actually use some information? Draw some more information pieces here, and here, maybe. And this is the Fibonacci spiral is really a cool idea, although, 98 out of 100 people aren't really going to get it. Actually, I'm being kind of facetious. I think more would, but most people aren't going to understand that spiral. But at the very least, I think it's cool because it's interactive. So what I want you to do is describe. I never saw it in here. I never saw what is the concept behind this. Do they walk in there, and if so, what are they supposed to get from the graphics? I guess is what I'm asking. because otherwise I'm saying this is all prime real estate for more informational panels. Okay, a picture does tell 1,000 words, but without any words, sometimes pictures don't make any sense. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now let's move forward. Wanted to talk about, oh, I just did. That's great. That's great. Love this. And then you go into your, and this is really, really, I think this is fabulous. And I love this. And I hope you don't mind if I point people to your work, because, and I asked just, that's why I'm saying it's such a pleasure to have you post right after Melissa, because these are both fantastic. So Lori, what I'm asking is, I hope you don't mind if I point people to your work for example of excellence. This is great. Just fantastic. All right, listen, man, I am not sold on this ink hand stamp. I'm not sold on it at all. Okay, there's a number of inherent issues. Number one, it's not in line. It's not aligning with our reduce, reuse, recycle formula. Okay, and specifically the reduce part. Do we need this? No, absolutely not. The intent is to distribute a code. Okay. The way you're doing it isn't in alignment with sustainability. All you need to do is distribute a code. All right. So why don't you do it the most obvious way? And I think if your giveaway is a code for a software, that's fantastic. But can there be a different way of giving the code? Can you do something like, I don't know, let's give an envelope. You can even use an envelope. And normally I'd say don't use an envelope. It's not part of sustainability. It's not part of the reduce part of the reduce, reuse, recycle formula, right? So don't use an envelope. But in this case, you could use an envelope. You could use 10 envelopes, and still you're using less than the resource to make this, even though it's an eco-friendly, and I use that generic term just out of convenience, an eco-friendly stamper, okay? There's still the inherent problem of what is the ink? How does the person know this ink? I'm just going to give you my personal, I'm not getting stamped with that. I'm not letting somebody stamp my hand. I'm not interested in having a dye on my hand. I'm not interested in having ink or something other on my hand that doesn't belong there. So I'm seeing problems with this. So can we make it interesting? I mean, let's make it interesting. Why don't you make an envelope with the card inside? And the inside you can use one stamp to, if it's an eco-friendly stamp, or do the obvious, have somebody write them out and put it in a designed envelope. Or just have them printed out. All it is a code. You can take that right there and have it printed, and still using eco-friendly inks and papers, you're still going to be way ahead of the game from producing something like this. Okay, so that is what I'm saying. And if you want to throw something in the envelope along with the card and the code, maybe a pencil where the nib, you plant the nib and it sprouts. We've seen those. Try to make it interesting, but I'm just not sold on this at all. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because, you're going to have to, I'm just not sold. I think there's going to be a better way. If you want to stay with it, stay with it. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it's got a few things right with it. I think the interactivity of having the interactivity of having to deal with the person, the representative of the cause, actually stamping the visitor, that's direct. That's a direct relationship. So that has meaning. But, so does personally handing out a designed envelope with a card inside of it that has a code for your software, for your app. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's where I'm at on that. But anyways, this just is so good. So smart to use the bag as your information collateral as well. I love this piece. All right, good job. Any questions, comments, concerns, or other? Please feel free to get with me. Thank you.